Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is August 27th, 2024. Pepe Escobar is back with us on just how strong is the resistance to Israel. But first, this. A divisive presidential election is upon us, and the winner is gold. Let me tell you what I mean. Since 2016, our national debt has grown a staggering 70%, and gold has increased by 60%. Do you own gold? I do. I bought my gold in February 2023, and it has risen 33%. You've heard me talk about Lear Capital, the company I trust. Let me tell you why. Recently, Kevin DeMerit, who is the founder and CEO of Lear, assisted the FBI in discovering a nationwide gold theft ring. And because of Kevin's good work, the FBI caught these people before they could steal anymore. That's why I have been saying the people at Lear are good people. They believe in America. They believe in their product, and they're honest to the core. So take action right now, my friends. Call 800-511-4620 or go to LearJudgeNap.com. Protect your savings and retirement before it's too late. 800-511-4620, LearJudgeNap.com. Remember, hope is not a strategy, but gold is. Pepe, welcome back, my dear friend. We missed you. You were traveling. You're always a wealth of knowledge and information. A lot of things happened while you were away. I know you were in Iraq, and we are very anxious to hear about that, and particularly your assessment on the stability and plans of the resistance in the Middle East. But before we get there, you're in Moscow. I know you just got back. What is the latest feeling in Moscow, if you can put your finger on the pulse of the invasion in Kursk? It is clear that this was a NATO invasion. It is clear that the United States spearheaded it. President Zelensky, I think falsely but loudly, is claiming it's a game changer. How does Moscow view this?
Well, I'll be very succinct, Judge. I'm here for a little over 24 hours, but it was enough to talking to people and to feeling the pulse that we are at another cliffhanger moment, and there is absolutely less than zero possibility of any negotiation with Ukraine, NATO, or the US. So the Kremlin, the Foreign Intel Agency, the FSB, think tanks, they all agree that now there are only two options left: unconditional surrender of Ukraine under Russia's terms, or NATO going on an all-out war against Russia. So this is as serious as it gets. That's where we are at the moment. So I'll have more in the next few days. But when in the first 24 hours you get that feeling.
Well, I have to comment because of what so many viewers are saying. Something else happened in the past 24 hours. You shaved. I mean, there you are with that beautiful baby face that I've never seen before.
Well, it's good to have a lighthearted moment like this, right? Well, my life is crazy enough. One day I am at the Gulf of Thailand on the beach. The next day I'm on the desert in Iraq, and on the next day I shave.
Wow! Before we get to Iraq. Can you tell us, if you're aware, if there's any extraordinary pressure on President Putin from the right, whether it's the military community, the intelligence community, the political community, or the Moscow elites, for him to come down like a sledgehammer?
Well, that's very complicated. It's going to take another few days for us to have a clearer picture.
Okay.
There is pressure from the hardcore Siloviki factions. These are people who are inside the SVR, Foreign Intel, especially inside the FSB. under Bortnikov, who is a much more hardcore character compared to Putin. Bortnikov is not a diplomat with this Taoist aura like Putin. No, he's part of the let's go for the head of the snake. So there is internal pressure. Of course, we have glimpses of leaks here and there, but we don't get the full picture. One thing is clear: President Putin is angry, and of course, heads will roll much later about Kursk. But the possibility that they would go for the head of the snake within the next few weeks, let's put it this way, is not discarded yet, but it's not a certainty at the same time. So it's a very fluid situation. It depends on what sort of provocation will come up, Kiev will come up next. And anything goes. Another attack on Zaporizhia, Zelensky and those crazy Podolyak and company in Kiev now want to attack Moscow and St. Petersburg directly. They're saying this on the record.
Oh, good Lord.
No, really, it's completely out of control in terms of the dementia in Kiev. And of course, absolutely no signs from Washington or Brussels to rein in the crazies, the lunatic.
Here is a very recent response to all of this from Foreign Minister Lavrov, which you could easily entitle, "The West is looking for trouble."
Yes.
The West does not want to avoid escalation. The West, how we say in Russia, is looking for trouble. It is very important to understand that we have our own doctrine, including doctrine on the use of nuclear weapon, which, by the way, has been adjusted now. And American representatives are well aware about it.
I've never heard him speak that way. Have you?
He never did, Judge. He never did. And he's pointing directly to this tweaking of the Russian nuclear doctrine, which is something that a year ago, exactly 1 year ago, like next week is going to be the Vladivostok Forum. 1 year ago, Sergei Karaganov was at the Vladivostok Forum, and he was basically challenging Putin to alter the Russian nuclear doctrine because he said, look, these provocations won't stop. And in the end, Karaganov was right. The provocations won't stop, and Russia is seriously contemplating a tweaking of their nuclear doctrine. This is as crazy as it goes in a matter of only 1 year. Good. And Lavrov is the portrait of a Taoist master. Even Lavrov has lost his patience nowadays. Ryabkov, the deputy foreign minister, the same thing. So it's very, very, very serious. Kursk, in a sense, well, we're back to the original Kursk, Second World War. And this mini Kursk could be a game changer in the sense that the Russians are, they're starting to get ready to go for the kill.
Okay. Before we get to Israel, Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram, why do you think he was arrested in Paris?
Wow, that's a very complicated story. My column came out a few hours ago on Sputnik in English, so it should be circulating in the US soon. Basically, the people that I talked to from yesterday to today, some very good intel agencies, they were saying they were giving many reasons for this, let's say, Macronist offensive. In fact, the fact that Telegram is used in the Sahel against French interests by absolutely everybody. The fact that the French cannot control the narrative on Telegram in terms of the Ukraine war, and more people in Europe and even in France are starting to pay attention to what goes on Telegram. But the more complicated scenario, which I'll try to put together in this column, is that this is a European commission Macron offensive to try to get control over Telegram. So basically, they set up a trap to Durov. The most important thing about his arrest is that he didn't know that he would fly to France and be arrested, because the arrest warrant was issued when he was on the air. And after his pilot has already, the flight plan was already on. So the French knew it. They got a hint from somebody. There's ample speculation. It could have been his Instagram addicted, Durov's Instagram addicted lover, which was posting everywhere where they're going together. So they said, okay, let's set up a trap and let's get him, because we want something from him, considering that 3 years ago, Macron gave Durov French citizenship. Because, and this is very, very important, this was a personal intervention by Macron to give Durov French passport in the name of our values, freedom of speech, etc. And now the whole thing turned upside down, because what they really wanted from Durov from the beginning is some sort of control over Telegram.
Now, will he be released on bail, or is he locked up for the duration of this litigation?
We don't know, Judge. Apparently, it stops on Thursday, the legal period that they can keep him under interrogation. Let's put it this way. I wonder what kind of interrogation this is. After that, the judge has to press charges or release them. We don't know what's going to happen. When you look at the communiqué by the French prosecutor of the Republic, it's an absolute joke. In fact, this has been circulated in English as well. Basically, he's being accused of being complicit with everything, money laundering, drug trafficking, pedophilia, etc. So he's being blamed by people who use the platform, which is completely absurd.
Okay.
So
well, we will encourage people to look for your column.
Thank you.
And we'll monitor this, and we'll look for you to let us know what's going on with it. What did you discover? What is your impression from your recent trip to Iraq?
Well, I was there last week, and it was an absolutely mind-boggling experience. And for me, at the same time, it was quite emotional. I worked a lot in Iraq before, shock and awe, during, afterwards. I came back many times afterwards. I was there in 2002 during the Axis of Evil period in the last the last year of Saddam, in fact. So this was extremely emotional. And at the same time, my first impression was an enormous shock. Yes, this is the famous literary cafe in one of the streets of old Baghdad, which preserved miraculously from everything. There was a lot of bombings, shootings, etc. in this particular street. Now the street is more or less rebuilt. It looks great. And the owner of the cafe, I cannot believe that he recognized me. He said, "Yes, you were here 20 years ago." I said, "I can't believe you."
Was
he
that
remembers
before,
because
was that
not
before
many
or after you shaved?
Exactly. Maybe because of the beard, right? But because no Westerners were visiting Iraq in 2002, before shock and awe. And then there were different layers of the trip. We were invited by the Prime Minister's office. So this was a very serious trip, extremely well organized. A small group of bloggers and influencers from the Arab world in general, very popular, and a few foreigners, including myself. There was a conference on Palestine on the first day, which was when more or less the Prime Minister's office revealed an absolutely fascinating concept, which then we saw in action when we went to Karbala. They linked the pilgrimage to Karbala last week on Arba'in commemorating the 40th day of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, which is a very sacred date for the Shiites. They linked Karbala in terms of resistance and martyrdom to Gaza. So, it was amazing. There was, this is our Soviet ride with Commander Tashin, who took us from Baghdad to Karbala. An absolutely amazing trip because he instructed the pilot to follow the road above the pilgrims. So while we were flying, we were looking down and we will see this mass of pilgrims, absolutely amazing, walking from Baghdad to Karbala. And this is only one of the many acts where people actually walk. There are people who are walking from the Iraq border all the way to Karbala for days on end. Something absolutely extraordinary. And then we learned by the end of the week that there were 21.4 million pilgrims going to Karbala during Arba'in. It's the largest urban movement on the planet.
Is it fair to conclude? Is it fair to conclude that the Iraqis are, the Iraqi people, now I'll ask you about the government in a minute, are furious at what is happening in Gaza?
Absolutely correct, Judge. And for instance, I'll give you an example. We couldn't get close to the shrine in Karbala because it was absolutely packed. So we were like 5 kilometers away, but we were very lucky because we were in a sort of mini Al-Aqsa. There was a mini reconstruction of Al-Aqsa on the way to the shrine, with an exhibition about Al-Aqsa, with martyrs, Palestinian martyrs, and the fact that many Iraqis support them. And they were collecting funds to send to Al-Aqsa as well, food, etc. And the people that we were talking to over there, pilgrims from not only from different parts of Iraq, but from all over the lands of Islam. There were people from Azerbaijan, from Pakistan, from Iran, from Central Asia, from the Persian Gulf. Absolutely outstanding. And this mini Al-Aqsa compound was a discussion center on the ramifications of the genocide in Gaza and the fact that Iraqis not only support Palestine as a whole, but they support the government's position on Al-Aqsa and on Palestine. And this was at the last day, we were granted a special audience with the Prime Minister himself, Mohammed Sudani, which is a very, very smart guy, very well prepared. He was a former minister in previous governments, a humanist, a Shiite humanist, and he made the direct connection: resistance, Karbala, Arba'in, Gaza, and was outstanding. And then he opened the floor for our observations, all of us as well. So it was very interesting because the Arab visitors, the Arab bloggers, for many of them was the first time they had ever been to Iraq. Many of them were quite young, in fact. So for them, it was a shock. And they didn't expect it, So the view of an Iraqi government deeply implicated in the axis of resistance, and at the same time having to maneuver very carefully between the US, the EU, Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, Iran, etc. But now under a policy that the Prime Minister Sudani described very aptly as Iraq first. We could not even imagine something like this happening a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago.
What is your sense of what, if anything, the government of Iraq can do or want or might do to resist the Israeli genocide?
Well, in practical terms, Judge, not much. And the people who are doing the heavy lifting are the militias, Kataib, Hezbollah, Hashd al-Shabi, etc. These are the people who will know. They are directly involved, and if there is a lot of American support, I would say overblown American support to Israel, the remaining American bases in Iraq will be hit. There's no question about that. So, but the government, it's a very, very fine line that they are threading. So it's diplomatic support. As much as they can, they are sending, they're trying to sending funds, health equipment, as long as it crosses the border from Rafah, etc., to Gaza. And they are coordinating what they're doing with the Iranian government, with the Turkish government as well. So it's important in terms of organizing, let's say, a solidarity corridor with Palestine.
Got it. Where do you see the slaughter in Gaza going? How do you see it ending? A physical resistance of Houthis, Hezbollah, Iran, and militias, or the United States, which just conducted its 500th delivery of arms to Israel, continuing to arm Israel without end?
Exactly. You just said it. 500 deliveries. So it won't stop. It won't stop because the United States does not, or the people in power at the US don't want it to stop. And they legitimize anything that this, I would say, this gang of Talmudic psychopathological genocidals in Tel Aviv are doing, supported by 800,000 settlers in the West Bank armed to their teeth, as our friend Alistair Crook perfectly describes it.
Right.
So it is an eschatological cult supported by the collective West. This is the short headline of this whole story. So we have the collective West basically supporting a genocide conducted by a tiny eschatological cult, destabilizing the whole of West Asia. It's not only that part, it's the whole of West Asia. So the response is going to be a gradual response. We already had the beginning. Nasrallah described it as stage one of the response, over 300 missiles, drones, etc. But, not the top of the line missiles that Hezbollah has, And this was enough to shock the Israeli to the point that they more or less agreed that for the moment, this thing is settled in terms of Israel-Hezbollah. Israel knows that they cannot win a war against Hezbollah. And they know how Hezbollah is dangerous if they decide to go all out. The problem is there's no way out for this cabinet in Tel Aviv, apart from, over and over and over and over and over again, the fact that they didn't achieve anything substantial apart from the destruction of Gaza, and the fact that if they try anything more daring, let's put it this way, this time it won't be only from Hezbollah, but it will be the Houthis, it will be the militias in Iraq, and eventually Iran, because Iran, on the record, is saying practically every day, look, there will be a response. We decide when and how.
Got it. Before I let you go, Chris just informed me that in a recent back to Pavel Durov, in a recent interview with my friend and former colleague Tucker Carlson, Pavel said the U.S. government has been spying on him and even attempted to hire away his chief engineer. Question: is the U.S. behind the arrest in Paris?
Well, we don't have a smoking gun, Judge, but let's say they, to be extremely diplomatic, they encouraged Macron's move. And basically the European Commission's move. Don't forget that this ties in with the Neo-Orwellian Digital Services Act, which basically applies to all the big tech companies. So Elon Musk is a big target for the EU. And even to Telegram. Telegram is not big in Europe. Telegram has less than 45 million users a day, which does not qualify Telegram as a big social network in Europe.
Right.
X is a completely different story, So this could be the beginning of the EU going after Musk later on as well. This is what they want. This is something that I think practically nobody knows or forgets, that Europe does not have any social networks. So they need to control at least one. And they are picking Telegram because they think it's the easiest way to get it.
Got it. My dear friend, Pepe Escobar, thank you very much. I know you just arrived from your whirlwind tour. We deeply appreciate your time. We'll look forward to seeing you next week, my dear friend.
Enormous pleasure, Judd. See you. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up later today at 2 o'clock, Matt Ho at 3 o'clock, all times Eastern as usual. Karen Kwiatkowski at 4 o'clock Eastern, the always worth waiting for Professor John Mearsheimer. Let me also remind you, as you know, last week at this time, we had been struck. We were off of YouTube because of something said 2 months earlier. When that happens, go to judgesnap.com and it will direct you to how you can find you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We're at close to 430,000 subscribers. Our goal is 500,000 by Christmas. Thank you for helping us to get there. Judge Napolitano for Judging Freedom.